Hello. Hi. Hello, everybody. So first of all, I'm very happy and super excited about the discussion that we will have today. We have more than 60 years of experience around the table, working globally from San Francisco, Munich, China, Shenzhen. So it's going to be, say, super exciting. So with no further ado, let me introduce you our dear panelists. We have Noah Hirschman. Is that okay? Yeah. A senior retail industry architect from Microsoft here. Mr. Benjamin Usinger here from Manager Advisory in KPMG. Simon Young, who is president and co-founder of Table.co, and Dora Tsay, that is director of Explora Consulting and a member of Analytics. Well, I think, and when we were discussing before this panel discussion, I realized that you already had a tremendous experience in the sector. So the first question I would like to ask you, and please, of course, you can also maybe give us a bit more of your background, is what do you think is the big trend in technology that the retail industry is facing right now? And okay, I will start with Dora for that question. Yeah. I think you can take the mic.
Hello, I'm Dora. Thank you, Alfie. Thank you, everyone. I'm Dora, Director of Explora Consulting and Hummingbird. We're based in Hong Kong. We provide BI analytic solutions and also services. By answering Alfie's question, yes, the latest trend in retail technology now, I would see that during COVID-19, I see major changes. I would say the acceleration of digitalization, including digital footprints, including the omnichannel online sales, all of them pop up all at once. I do see that during COVID-19, I do see dramatic changes. You know, people work from home. It looks like they rely on technology to drive collaboration and then to also drive a lot of we can say transparency. They really want, we see people working from among cities, between cities in many different ways. And with the unknown of the technology or even on the business now, they're willing to invest more on IoT. They're willing to invest on technology and even analytic to try to dive through the data to find out more opportunities, find out more on compare the trend between business and business. So this is the business trend I've been seeing by standing at the advisor or consultant on the BI and analytic world. And I do see a lot of excitement coming up. And it's going to be more and more digital footprint, got to be more resilience, got to be more adaptable. And I do see a positive trend after COVID-19, and this is going to be ongoing.
I see, Ben, you were nodding when Dora was talking about IoT. Is there a specific trend that you see and you foresee that is hitting the retail industry right now?
Yeah, actually, I quite agree with your sort of very immediate trends, right, that we can see out of COVID. Maybe for the sake of introduction, I'm Benjamin Usinger. I'm a manager in the KPMG IT advisory team, and I co-lead our blockchain and token advisory. So I can certainly go a bit into the detail for IoT trends, but one more macro trend that I can see and that will help us to overcome the current situation is certainly a trend towards more insights into the transparency in a supply chain and the reactivity in a supply chain. And I can share from blockchain projects that we've been doing where we are now seeing more and more companies joining forces and really mapping out their supply chain in order to be more agile, in order to be more reactive, because disruptions like what we've just realized in the last 4 or 5 months, they may come more frequently. And I think everybody is now realizing how important it is to be really quick in preparation, because those who have been winning in the crisis were able to adopt super quickly. That has an IoT element in it, because obviously in order to do so, we do need more data, and those data points are no longer just on our mobile phone or in an internet web screen, but they are actually out in devices, and we really try to collect as much of it as possible.
Yeah, and okay, so we discussed about the IoT, the blockchain. There is, and we also see on the day-to-day, the platform economy is something that is, I would say, one of the big trend. Can you maybe, Simon, give us your insight about what do you see from a large perspective and then the startup that you have co-founded?
Yeah, so my name is Simon. I'm actually a serial entrepreneur. Actually, this is my third company that I'm actually starting. And before that actually is the president and the board of directors of a publicly listed company that's focusing on wireless infrastructure equipment. So one of the buzzwords that I actually heard that Randora mentioned that I actually totally agree is actually collaboration. I think forget about retail for a second, is that when actually this COVID hits, there's one thing that everybody is looking at and actually is now focusing on, which is the core of the daily life, is collaboration. And this is actually what we believe, and I believe, as actually one core word that we have to focus on. Before actually the whole pandemic happens, we will actually go up and talk to customers and their potential customers, and they will look at the platform and look at this solution, and they will use these buzzwords saying like, are you blockchain? Are you AI? Are you what? But in reality is that everything that we do nowadays, even buying a TV, has changed. Just imagine when we were actually young, what happened when you buy a TV? You just go to a shop, you buy a TV, they drop the TV on your floor, on your home, and then they leave. They left, that's it. Nowadays, when you buy a TV, you actually involve shopping for a TV. You may need to buy a mount to hang it on at home on the wall. You actually need to connect to your smart home devices on your Wi-Fi, connect onto a lot of different things. So, and then you in locally here in Hong Kong, you may actually ask your helper or your kids to open the door. So you actually have a collaboration from the installer to the sales to yourself to the people who install and get it online. So collaboration becomes one key factor if we want to be successful. So it's actually a platform that allows you to do all these things and have multiple people from the company standpoint and a customer standpoint to collaborate and do something together in order to succeed and differentiate your company against other people. I think Douglas actually from GOD on the previous session mentioned it very interestingly. He's more interested in buying, like if it's actually a high volume product, I'm just going to buy something that is cheap or inexpensive, better word, right? But if you actually want to have differentiate, it's actually different. So how do you differentiate against each other? Is actually provide a good collaboration platform so that you can actually provide a seamless services, omni-channel from start to end, or never end, they will buy another one.
Yeah, it's actually super interesting because it leads me to the point I wanted to ask to you. At the end of the day, we need to have an enabler, right? We need to have this technological enabler, and I guess Microsoft Services wants to play that role. Maybe you can give us a bit more details about what is the mission that you see that you are playing in this position.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Yeah, my name is Noah Hirschman, and I am a senior retail industry architect for Microsoft based in Hong Kong, although my role is a global role where I take care of help retailers across the world do various things. And mostly we're doing stuff around digital transformation. And that has to do with using technology to better serve customers and to better pay attention to some of the details it takes to run a retail business. You know, retail is nothing but forecasting and prediction. You know, what somebody's going to buy, how many they're going to buy, when they're going to buy it, how much they're going to buy it for, all these kinds of things. And so it's really just built for AI. Right, it's built for machine learning and prediction. So there's so many different ways that machine learning and obviously IoT and blockchain and the other technologies can help. But specifically around forecasting, you know, we can do things around demand forecasting for units, pricing optimization, marketing personalization, computer vision and facial recognition. You know, we have an Azure platform that has the capability of running all of those things, right? So we see ourselves as a retail platform company, other industries as well. I'm focused on retail, and this is a retail panel, where we can really sort of add on these microservices and consolidate everyone's data. The other problem with retailers is that they have data all over the place because they have POS system and they have vendor master, item master, outbound transportation, inbound transportation, blah, 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 right? And so what do? Is you have to be able to put all that data together, and then you can make some really interesting decisions, and you can really understand how things are correlated and what you can do about it to be able to deliver a better experience for your customer.
Yeah, so you're talking about the experience of the customer, and I would like to build on that, because ultimately, as you said, there is a set of data that is tremendous and everywhere. How do you overcome the fact that probably for your customer, not the data is really well organized, or maybe not really clean, or just the fact that they don't have the right organization? What is the first step to, to try to be on that road? Maybe you can elaborate a bit.
That?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So yeah, so this is not just a retail-y thing.
Exactly.
This is everybody, and their data is usually all over the place. It's maybe particularly prevalent in the retail place. So what we've got to do is we've got to be able to create basically get what's called a data lake on Azure, and we have to be able to take the data from the different systems and combine it all in structured or unstructured way onto the cloud. And then we can be able to use things that are within the cloud, certain algorithms for AI, for example, and use that data to be able to make sense of it and create analytics from it. That's the very simple explanation of what it is that we do, but that is really where everyone is going. Yes. Now, before I worked for Microsoft, I used to work for Amazon, and Amazon doesn't have that problem. Data has always been in one place for Amazon. So they are able to do really good demand forecasting and really good personalization. But the truth is they don't have the monopoly on that. And then the other great retailers in the world need that kind of facility to be able to do that. And that's really Microsoft's bailiwick, is sort of raison d'etre, mission in life is to be able to be that backbone, that data platform for the rest of the world, because there's so many great retailers out there. They just need a little help in terms of technology, but all of the retail art stuff, and why I love retail is it's sort of the combination of art and science, right? Mm-hmm. And all of the things around becoming a great retailer and selling great products, they just need a little bit of backbone technology, and that's really what we're here for. Yeah.
Maybe Dora, you want to complement with your activity also in data analytics and AI?
Yeah, thank you, Alfie. I find a lot of consensus when hearing Noel's speech. Yes, analytics and also the data collaboration. And we are using Microsoft Azure platform to enrich and build up our platform. So Hummingbird Analytics actually has a very strong bonding with Microsoft Azure technology. And I agree with you about data platform. It's actually a backbone of having, like Alfie mentioned, the data is everywhere. We need to find out a way to collaborate together, consolidate together in one box and provide a single source of truth. Because if you see that a lot of retailers out there, there's so many systems, right? You have a cash register system, you have a back-end system treating the ERP information, you have a CRM system treating customer profiling customer information. There's a lot of system, and what are you going to do with it, right? So it looks like system, the information become overflow. So to start from anywhere, before reaching to your business objective, to start from point one is to consolidate the data into one point, so that everybody has the same dimension. When you go to the meeting, you're not going to go through many versions of reports and come up with consolidation. Everybody spend 50% of the time to massage the data, or going to a meeting, complain about your version is not right, my version is better. So we're seeing a lot of pain point in the market. That's why we come up with BI analytic platform. And to speak about Microsoft Azure technology, we are building something, we're using that data platform in the backbone, but we're making the platform available immediately for customer to use it. It's no longer going through a lot of long journey BI service, spend many months or even putting 6 months of money and then come up with something very preliminary. We're building up something in clouds, a monthly subscription, make it so easy for you to access your information, get a better idea instantly, and then make your decision accordingly. Ask the data with search engine. That's the future I'm seeing with data analytic.
Yeah, and talking about data, of course, what came into my mind is, of course, security, and how we make sure that at the end of the day, all of these data that you put and you secure in one place are, let's say, in a safe place. In that direction, probably one of beginning of the action could be the blockchain, I guess. Maybe you can elaborate on the project that KPMG is launching, Ben?
Yeah, certainly. So you're right. I think when we talk about security of data, there's two aspects of it. Obviously, there is the protection of the data, And that is in the field of our cybersecurity teams. So that is really about how can I make sure that my data is not being stolen. The second aspect, and that's the one that blockchain can add to, is how can I actually trust data that I'm getting? And especially if that data comes from a third party, where I may have a very indirect business relationship, or a relationship that maybe one of my suppliers has, but is actually not mine. As an example, you can think, for example, of ESG audits or any type of process audits that should be conducted down the line. You trust this information. Typically, you see some certification about that it has been done, but it is based up to your trust, maybe 1 to 2 spot checks from time to time. And other than that, you don't know if it's actually the right data that you're getting. That is where blockchain comes in and can really change this. And so talking about a project that we've been doing was very related about sustainable farming information, which is critical for consumers. In our case, for example, of sugar. Sugar is a product that goes into so many products, whether it's beverages or pre-cooked meals, etc. Now, if you open a can of soft drink, you want to make sure that you're not destroying some coral reefs in the Pacific Ocean because somebody has just thrown a lot of fertilizer into the original sugar that was farmed, and ultimately you're contributing to the destroyment of that reef. Or another example would be palm oil. So being able to put information or take information directly from the farmers, recording the practices that they have, actually supporting their farming practices, because they will get intelligence about how much fertilizer is actually the right one. They don't overspend on fertilizer anymore, using the analytics to really help sort of give them an incentive to use that. And then making this data available, analyzed and available directly to the upstream consumers of that information, that can then rest assured that the data that they consume is not just secure, but is actually trustable.
Yeah, secure and trustable. Yes, I completely agree. And you were talking about customer data here. One of the question that I have on the back of my hand is, we see, I think that was you, Noah, that just say that consumer has changed right from the beginning, the way they behave in terms of consumption and the way they interface with the retail. I don't know. Simon. Yeah, it was Simon, right? Yes. I don't know, Simon. Can you please maybe tell me and tell us? You've been 15 years in San Francisco and now here in Hong Kong. Do you see strong differences in the way the customer experience retail here and there, and evolution in the way the technology is playing a key role in that evolution?
Here is all relative, right? It depends if
Yes.
you mean here is Hong Kong or Asia. I think one of the things that we see that is the same is that if you actually look at the retail industry in the US, you can see, like, even before the pandemic happens, like you see every month that the traditional brick and mortar companies closing down, right? JCPenney, Macy's is closing stores. During the pandemic, Zara is closing like 1,600 stores. Like, so a lot of brick and mortar company stores is actually closing. And if you actually take this and compare it to here, here in Hong Kong and Asia and versus China is also very different, right? Mm-hmm. So here in Hong Kong specifically, you can see a lot of brick and mortar company in which they don't even have a connected retail strategy. Don't name names, but there's a lot of major apparel companies that is local companies in Hong Kong that you can't even buy a shirt online. Yeah. Right. And so I think they, and when you talk to them, they will always come back to you and say, why do I want, and why would people want to buy a shirt, right? And then when you go to the China, there are actually now companies in which you actually can buy a whole bunch of selections. You pay $5 more or $15 RMB, sorry, not dollar, 15 RMB more, and the delivery man will stand outside the door waiting for you to try them on and return whatever you don't like, right? So it's actually go to an extreme case. So one thing that we are believing is that they actually don't see, they cannot convert what they believe as their major attribute as a brick and mortar store to put it online. right? I think that's actually one of the main bottleneck in the brain that actually they cannot get through, and which is also difficult, right? They may have a major attribute, like for example, one thing that I can use an example, which is directly related to our company, is that one of the major electronic retailer in the US, they acquire a company that do like white gloves services and then installation. But in this company, they always have a big bottleneck of to get through is how do they realize this company delivery and installation and value added services online. If they don't if you don't actually realize it, then they are selling against the company that he used to work for, which is Amazon, which is price and selection, right? So they want to sell this. I mean, since I'm naming them Best Buy, right? They actually, how do they actually try to realize this Geek Squad they actually acquire, that you can walk inside the store and have a counter and have people walking around saying, hey, do you also want to buy a mount? Do you want to actually also us help you to connect to the Wi-Fi and then have your Netflix going? I think that is actually a big brain block for a lot of companies.
Yeah, but don't you think that the and I'm asking this for the whole panelists, the period that we has just passed, the COVID period, has completely changed and reshuffled somehow the state of mind? Maybe Noah, you want to give us your insight on that?
I don't think it's passed in everywhere.
It's not passed, of course. We're still inside.
Where we are, I think. But
well, I don't think it is actually, because otherwise we'll have full people here attending.
But it's raging on, right?
Exactly.
And you know, it has exacerbated something that was already happened. I think, which is what Simon was saying. You know, online and digital was happening anyway, and as you know, in China, the percentage of sales online is 35% of total retail, and in the US it was in the past maybe 12 or 13, maybe now it's up to 15, right? But the truth is that the biggest difference between Hong Kong and why Hong Kong doesn't have very good online penetration and the US is because their retail chains were already built out. They had a very mature retail infrastructure, whereas China, very few. You go into the second tier cities, third tier cities, fourth tier cities, there is no places to buy stuff. So the demand is really, really high. And Pinduoduo and all these other guys who have catered into the Nongsun places, right? The villages and smaller tier cities have done very, very well because there's a huge demand for that. Well, now it's just taken it to a whole other level because of the coronavirus. So there was a survey done of people who are retailers. It was done in April, and said, what are the things that you would do differently now that you've had experienced COVID-19? And the first thing they said was open up supply chain, right? Which is a little bit what Ben was saying too. How do you become agile where you don't have to just depend on the same suppliers you've been using for the last few years, and you're able to open up the supply chain when all of a sudden your supply runs out? And then another thing they want to be able to do is open up their platform, which they've done, and they were using live streaming and re-commerce and private traffic and all of these cool things that are going on in China that the rest of the world maybe sometimes doesn't even have any idea about, by the way. And then they're being able to really move into that whole digital space in a big way.
Yeah, you're talking about live streaming, yeah. And actually it's you know, I mean, everybody probably knows about TikTok, I guess. And to me, I actually didn't understand the idea of that. And then I realized it was such a super powerful channel of retail. Maybe Ben, you want to tell us about what has changed on how we interface with the customer, because this is a channel we're not using. And the others, of course, please complement.
Yeah, the millennial in the team, right, gets the TikTok question. You were hoping I'm young enough. No, I think it's a very interesting trend. It is, I think, still quite unique to China, but certainly we can start to see expanding it in other parts of the world where, while the TikTok and the really short live video blogging is used for shopping now, for sharing shopping experiences, for promoting goods. I think outside of China, maybe the most common platform is still more sort of longer videos, YouTube type of vloggers, bloggers that share their experiences. But ultimately, yeah, it is about connecting, just like we used to do with the footballers in the 90s and 2000, connecting individuals that people like to follow and that people like to know about with positive brand experiences, right? So I have somebody that I see in my day-to-day life. I have somebody that shares me their private, most intimate moments sometimes. And then from time to time, they also recommend me a certain product. And obviously the connection that we create, and this person is followed by, well, in the case of China, 100 million people sometimes, right? So many people have that same sensation. This is a very interesting person to me. Now she or he recommends me a product. I want that. Just like in the 90s, I wanted the shirt that the footballer was wearing, etc.
I don't know if somebody wants to compliment on that one, but to me it is also the technology and the role that it plays because basically it feels like we are super close to each other. It feels like almost we are here. And there is one I think I will take that question on virtual reality. One of the question that is asked from actually I want to remind that if the audience wants to send questions, we will take them. They're asking ourselves, does virtual reality play a role to have an immersive experience in the retail experience? I don't know if someone has any point on that. And I guess because it is ultimately an extension of what we are having in the social world with all of this platform. But even I was reading to prepare this panel on the sensor, having all of this, you go and you basically can smell in the store the wine that you will have. And I don't know, what is your point of view on that one?
I actually, as an angel investor, looked at like the AR glasses and VR glasses and multiple companies. I think Microsoft also is putting a lot of bets onto this market segment. We see that it will be, we believe that it will be part of an integrated solution. So in our collaboration, co-shopping solution, we're also looking at actually potentially when you're having a meeting that there will be something floating that you can discuss. I think that's actually a natural revolution. Like it's not like it's a. I think it has gone to the stage that everything we look at it holistically as a total solution. In the past, like in terms of VCs and startup, they may say, "Oh, I want to do a chatbot." Is one thing. Like you can't survive as a chatbot. People want various things as a total solution, and that's how we believe it will happen. And AR definitely is one of them.
Dora, you wanna?
Yeah, thank you, Simon. I also want to add on that I really like that. That's the point is very interesting about virtual reality sensor bringing the smell to enrich your shopping experience, and also in retailer, I'm sure a lot of shopping mall out there also try lately they trying to dig into data science is to find out okay when nowadays some shopping mall might have an open platform for concert, a mini concert, right? Could be a PR show promoting a certain cosmetic brand, something like that. So they will invite movie star to come in for some singing concert, some mini performance. And then so lately they try to dig into the sensor or data science to find out the sound technology. What is the volume of the sound attracting the most customers who staying in my shopping mall, staying in the platform to enjoy my performance? Because they also have an objective to drive visitors staying in the shopping mall, and so that they can stay longer to consume, they can stay longer to enjoy the food and enjoy the restaurant and enrich their shopping experience. So lots of all of that, even virtual reality experience or sensor, all of that is containing the data, even sound technology. So those data is also blended into everywhere. And then that's part of the IoT. That's the power of IoT technology. They're willing to invest to connect all these data points and then to find out what are the customer experiencing now. What is the return of the shopping experience? What do we come back with driving the process or driving the customer flow back to my shopping mall? If I had to happen again, what am I going to do with the sound technology or the sensor and all that? So they want to be technology and analytics is not just one-time experience. They also want to invest on these data science and try to find out if I can do it again to attract the crowd. So this is something more interesting. We're happy to help them and they're willing to invest on so that they can prolong, we call it resilience, they can prolong these shopping experience.
Yeah, maybe I can add to this. I think it is true, whether we call it virtual reality, augmented reality, or just improved customer experience, right? It is all about sort of a more immersive experience for the customer, and ultimately for us. So whether I just go into a virtual space and try that out, and maybe past COVID, that has become really a reality for all of us. I mean, who doesn't try their virtual background in Zoom? And how long does it take for us to actually have a virtual front end in Zoom? So we just need our voice. So it's just a few years from now, maybe, or whether it is sort of what shopping malls do in order to keep us there longer. I think a real trend here in Hong Kong, if you look back at the last 2 years, we've been involved in a lot of those projects. I'm sure many here will also know, is the trend towards more loyalty, more engagement platforms. So suddenly everybody now has some platform in order to keep you more engaged, whether that is sharing with you when there's events happening, obviously providing points in order for you to come back, giving you discounts on parking, on whatever you need, but also on top of this, really opening up the ecosystem and not just focus on maybe what is within my shopping district or mall, but start to promote other services outside of the mall. I think one quite good example was where integration into a food delivery platform was made, so that I have more reasons to use my shopping mall customer engagement program and connect it with other industry participants. So that's what we've been busy with, but I'm really curious, Stephen, I'm sure you have some experiences there too on the platform play.
Yeah, maybe I want to understand, because you're talking about the customer experience that is extended and to the end that basically what you were saying, Dora, when we are shopping, we are at the middle of an experience that we don't know we are. So at the same time, I'm super happy, but it also feels a bit scary. It leads me to a point: where is our engagement, our sustainability, our responsibility? Do you see, because look, we have been talking 45 minutes on data, but ultimately it's customer data here. Maybe, you can tell us.
Sure, we could talk a little bit about sustainability, right? So here's an interesting factoid, right? Do you know how many gallons of water, how many liters of water it takes to make one pair of jeans and one blouse and one t-shirt?
Thankfully, I'm not wearing a jeans.
20,000. Okay, and so what happens is that when these clothes get thrown away because they're overbought, it is tremendously bad for the environment. And in fact, there were, I won't mention any names, but there was a very famous designer retail store in the news maybe a couple of years ago who found lots and lots of their clothes in plastic bags in landfills because they had overbought and they didn't want to tarnish their brand by marking it down. So this is why being accurate in your forecast is not only about your own cash flow, which is super important, right? But it's also about the environment, especially when you're talking about fashion and other things, because if you overbuy and you overestimate, as they say, that can have profound impact on people around you.
But do you think, Noah, that the customer now has integrated and is looking, I mean, for this really retail experience that will have a positive impact? Before in the previous panel, I think the CEO of Codes was selling that we need to differentiate because we need to have this niche experience. But how do you see this in your experience? How do you see the customer willing to, let's say, change the way he or she experience the retail, because he or she will probably mostly want to take a more positive impact, let's say, channel?
I think that will probably be a company's strategy on how they differentiate themselves. I think you bring it up very well, right? Douglas, the GOD CEO, he mentioned that if he want to buy from something that is mass produced, I'll just buy from IKEA or whatever. So if you want to differentiate yourself, you have to have a clear message of what the company is. And I was actually in I was in Bali and went into a school called Green School. I don't know if anybody. It's actually It's actually started by I forgot his name, John Harry. He's actually used to be the jewelry company, and he actually said he changed from this jewelry business to start this environmentally impactful school because that he watched Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth. That's what he claimed. But what happened is that he actually trying to, so what to cut the story short is that the kids at the school went to Donna Karen personally, the person, and convinced her that they have to make like environmentally impactful like clothing, not just make. And then that actually, I think in two ways, like Donna Karen, the brand started to advertise what they change, how they changed because of these kids. These kids actually turn out to get into Harvard because of this act that they do, I think. And Donna Karen created a lot of like advertisement or social media information on this to create an impact. I think how you actually react to this is something that's important. So small to actually how you react to a straw. Like, it's nothing to do with connected retail, but I think that's actually, and how you create that message, maybe from TikTok, right? So I was actually thinking in my brain that when you're actually saying we added to have like 50 years old of like experience, that may be a bad thing, right? Because
actually, I don't think it's about if it's concentrate. I think the threshold is quite good, so it's not that bad, you know. And also the fact that the experience are very diverse, and it leads me to the question of how do you see the retail industry is you know, right now we see the trend on the impact, we see the trend on the ESG, we have seen the trend on the diversity. Do you think that there is a new way that has to be super instant, reacting? I mean, I've seen a lot of new campaign from the retail industry that quickly react on what just happened yesterday. How do you see this happening, and how do you see that the technology can somehow maybe forecast this? I don't know who wants to take that one. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, why not? So, I mean, there is already a few technology trends out there that help companies to be more reactive, right? I think Douglas, again, spoke about things that are personalized. And one trend that goes very well with personalization and reacting quick is obviously 3D printing. And there's been tremendous advancements. So if you go out in Hong Kong today, you'll find multiple shops that offer you 3D printing of all kinds of plastic and fabric products. And it takes at most overnight and you get your product. So that's one trend there, obviously. The second one is clearly what I shared before, understanding more about my supply chain, being more flexible with my suppliers, and probably move away from my one or two priority suppliers to have a real set, an ecosystem of suppliers again, that may do things slightly different, but that suit my personalization angle. Dora, I'm sure you want to add.
Thank you. Yes, I really like the question that Alfie brought up about like people try to reflect about, hey, yesterday or last year, the same month, what would happen if I have to do it again. So I've been seeing in analytic data science or even ML and AI side, I've been seeing these demand is getting more and more, and that facilitate the needs of real-time information. Real-time information in the sense that, you know, when you have a transaction, we are collecting, just like M&A question you just mentioned, environmental data that we are speaking about. These data is all instant, but how are you going to use the fastest way to collect the data in real time so that you can make faster decision, you can explore opportunity faster than before. So I would say that there's a lot of technology out there, even speak about network that, you know, IoT and sensor you just mentioned, Benjamin just mentioned. Under 5G, yes, data is getting a bit very faster than before to get the information. And with all the data points that you're going to connect and you're going to write on the data platform to get the data being communicated created, being saved, and being analyzed is getting much faster than you think or than we can imagine. So I would say that the need for real-time information, faster information, it's much in more demand now, and we have to prepare well, plan our journey, plan the digital roadmap a bit more. Now it's time for us to really reflect what could we have done better. With COVID-19, it's definitely give us a chance to reprioritize our business priority, focus on what needed to explore opportunity faster than before. And this is where we are here to help facilitate this, yes.
You anticipate the question on the 5G. So now I'm going to open on the Q&A, so please feel free to send us more questions. I would like to take the question on Vincent. I don't know if I do like this. Maybe it's working. Yes, it is. Do you see it? Okay, it is. The question, I think it would be for you, Simon. He is asking us if we think that the consumer expect even the smaller retailer to have a proper e-commerce platform. So what do you think on that?
Repeat
the question is, do you think that consumer expect even the smaller retailers to have their own proper e-commerce platform?
Actually, the way I looked at it is that it's not the expectation of the consumer. Yes, if you're a small retailer, it makes even more sense to have actually a e-commerce platform. But the definition, what is the definition of an e-commerce platform, right? It doesn't need to actually have a full-blown Shopify platform. You can actually even sell things on Facebook. But one thing that we believe is that how you can actually engage with the customers very, very quickly. A lot of people actually have a problem in which they set up a web page or have a Facebook page, and then if they are interested in the product, you can talk to them or fill out a form that on an email or write the phone number, and then they will contact you back. If you actually wait 15, 20 minutes or half a day, you contact back that person, it doesn't make any sense, right? The purchase a lot of times is spontaneous decision. You need people to be engaged in a very short time frame. I think that's actually the key. So 5G or not, you actually need to have something that you can react very quickly, preferably not just a bot, right? Because people hate having a bot too. Yes. So if you actually can engage a customer quickly, the good thing about the internet is that nobody cares if you're big or small. Right, I think that actually is the demise.
We don't see it. Actually.
Exactly, and actually that's the demise of those brick and mortar company. He mentioned it very well, right? They're still tied down to. I'll actually give you a real experience. I was working with an electronic store in Hong Kong. Won't name the names. They actually set up a web page. They want to innovate and do something better. But after a while, it just doesn't go anywhere because they have a lot fewer products that they can sell online than the offline, the brick and mortar store. And the people who do the marketing for the brick and mortar store is not willing to work hard to put it online because they want to protect the vested interests. This is kind of like the Kodak example.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just saying there is still a big and strong mindset shifting. What are the other barriers that you're seeing in order to fully embrace this technology, this connecting retail experience? Maybe Noah, you want to?
Yeah, sure. So there, if we turn sort of this virtual augmented reality thing the other way and say that people are at home, and how can they use this kind of technology at home rather than having to go out and buy very expensive 3D goggles or whatever it is. And there's a lot of that. We're seeing some interesting things from guys like SK2, some makeup people who are using computer vision, meaning that the camera takes a picture of their face and it can tell problems with their skin. Right? And then it can take people who also have those same problems and clump them together into a segment, figure out what those guys like to buy, or those women like to buy, and then they'll market to you that particular personalized thing because there's a high probability that you're going to want to buy it too if your skin is similar to their skin, right? There's other things about virtual reality where you can try on lipstick and it changes the color based on how you pick it and all these other things. So there's so many interesting ways to use technology, never mind the fact that what Simon was saying about, you get the trunk of clothes in your house and they wait for you to try them on, that's going to be all pervasive, I mean, that kind of way that people shop for clothes and other things in their home, that's the future. I mean, that's really running down in many different countries. So it's really interesting to see how COVID has, staying at home is going to be supplemented, not only by the background on Teams. I think you meant Teams before, right? Then it's also a bunch of other really great technology as well.
Yeah. Somebody wanted to add something? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just want to add, I think this is very good, sort of a front or customer facing experience, right? But Simon also mentioned something very interesting, which is, are we actually prepared in our backend? And I think it is very easy for all of us to speak about the great customer experiences that are created, but how are they enabled? So how quick can I actually ship? Do I have somebody who waits 15 minutes, or do I first need to change my supplier to have that person? How am I actually managing my online orders and my offline orders? And ideally order, at least from my suppliers, consolidated, etc. So curious if somebody here in the audience has actually a strong point there, because I feel that is, especially in Hong Kong, often a real challenge where maybe the front end now looks nice and shiny, but the back end is still quite clumsy.
Yeah, that's a question that one of the audience has. Let's say I'm a retailer today, I'm offline. How do I start? What do I do? That's a question for you, the expert.
Well, I mean, there's companies that do it right now for you. Okay.
Okay.
There's a company that we work with a lot called A-Commerce. They're in Indonesia.
So we have experts.
Yeah, and there's people in America that do this, and in Europe, and basically they just get you online like super fast. They can put you on Lazada and other marketplaces and Amazon and Taobao, etc. They can do the last mile delivery. They can create your content and push your content, all these other things. Now, is that a good way to go in the long run? It depends. But if you want to establish that kind of competency yourself, you may want to use them at the beginning and try to figure out a way to bring it in-house at some point. But the truth is that I had people call me up as soon as the COVID thing hit from places in the Middle East who had no website.
Okay.
I mean, literally, and they said, can you get us online in a week? And we're like, and then we have to figure out, there are people who actually can do that. And some of these guys are doing very well. Problem is, of course, that their dance card is all filled now with other people trying to use them to get online, but that's probably the fastest way to do it.
Yes, Simon?
I want to compliment on what he's saying is that actually just look, right? If you look at the whole world, if you look at actually China, most retailers have no website, right? They're actually sold on WeChat, on mini programs. So actually now the question now is that, do you actually need a website to sell? You can have a TikTok, you can have a Facebook, you can have an Instagram, you can actually cam onto Amazon, you can cam onto Taobao and cam onto a lot of things. So, and what we actually doing as a platform, we believe that there's also going to be a change. We actually is pushing, and I believe Amazon is conversational e-commerce. Why do you need to buy, like just look, right? In the past, when you walk into a bank, do you actually have 10 buttons to press, which is like the hyperlink, and these are the only questions or only thing you can do? No, you just walk up, hey, I want to deposit. And then the person will help you to some deposit. You actually walk away. So in the current way of thinking, we believe that it's like a buffet. They put down, and these are the choices I have. But I think what we believe in the future is actually will be a conversational solution. You actually and do payment, you can do everything and do an appointment. You can look at products all on multiple platforms and get into the same omni conversation, and you move on and you close the deal and you keep going.
But as Ben just said, you still need to do the back end. You
The
still
back
do.
end is
You
important.
can't
Yeah,
avoid,
totally.
unavoidable.
Exactly.
Yeah, so let's dig a bit, because you said, yes, you want to be fast, you go, you hire experts that are out there, they put you online, okay, you try to understand how it works. At the end, let's say you have the face, but you don't have the back end, and probably you don't have the right skill set. So how do you transform, the company from the inside? Because let's face it, you can't change everybody, or maybe you can, but it's slightly easy. How do you do this? What can be the recipe? I don't know. Maybe Ben, you.
Well, I guess that's my daily job. So I can talk a bit about it. So one example that I can give is actually a Hong Kong local producer, food and beverage producer that actually does have retail outlets. Some of them very digital, some of them very traditional, and being food and beverage, also some of them just machines, right? The way you go about transforming them internally, though, is again the much bigger challenge, because the website or the WeChat mini program is done quickly. Maybe the vending machines are set up fairly quickly, but a big challenge is what do we actually know about our stock? Where are they? Are they close by our future customers, or do we have to actually ship stuff from Hong Kong to northern China because we don't have some stock in sort of central northern China? So the whole stock management is really critical. Obviously, you pointed it out already, marketing. How digital is my marketing and how well are they connected? So we're running this massive and fantastic marketing program and spots and maybe online incentives to buy. But again, our production didn't actually know about it. So that is a classic example of we're very successful in our front end, but our production can't keep up. And so suddenly we run out of stock. So sales management, marketing management, integrating that into production management. Yes, there are solutions. Yes, there is analytics and intelligence needed. But frankly speaking, it is usually a program. It's not something that you do within a week or two. It involves a little bit of a program. And if you're a smaller retailer, there's a better chance that you can find sort of smaller third parties that can help you. But if you're already working at least maybe in Asia Pacific, I think that there's a lot of work typically involved.
Yes, I also want to compliment what you guys have mentioned here, is that to talk about that is also important to think about a business case, acceleration of business case. We have to think about, each of your clients out there, that you guys have different business process, different business requirement and business case that for all, no matter how rushy you are and trying to get the result, you still have to start from the ground, is to think of a business case, because business case to shape you to think about the needs of how you're going to build up your front end and back end. Again, back end, like Benjamin and Simon mentioned, is very important because that's the platform you're going to sustain. You're going to scale up your business. You're not, when you think of establishing your business, you're not thinking about only at this moment. You're going to think about how you grow it up a year after and after. So the business case is also very important. As a consultant here, is trying, I always encourage my clients, my customers are thinking about what is your immediate business case, what you need to think now to shape up what would be the your business pattern, your business requirement to shape up your front end, your platform should be. And that is also that also give us some wisdom or some thinking about what you're going to drive your business into. And a lot of, not only retail, a lot of business endeavor out there is only talking about or think about what is the immediate needs. But I, as a consultant, I also want to encourage them to think about, hey, a long-term thinking, scalability, how you're going to scale up your platform, especially e-commerce. Yeah.
And how do you see this? And it's for all of you guys, because ultimately as a retailer, probably, I don't know, let's say I'm selling toys. I should have a good expertise on toys, but maybe, platform and all of this is not really my skill set. How do we upgrade ourselves as a professional in this field of activity, in this vertical, so that we can embrace this journey? How do you do with your customer, and how do you see this in your day-to-day? Maybe Noah?
Don't totally understand the question.
The question is, if today I'm a retailer that has no journey online, how do I make it that I actually know what to do? I understand the idea that, okay, we can hire people from outside, but how do I upgrade, if I may say, upskill?
Young people like Ben over here, millennials.
Or join the Microsoft Academy. So I think your question is...
Yes, exactly. It's on really upskilling, reskilling. How do you make sure that you fill this gap between traditional vertical and then the tech world that is, now you know, the frontier is very thin.
You know, my a friend of mine who works with me in Microsoft says it's about, you know, it's all retail is the same. You know, you plan, you buy, you move, you sell. Right. And so really all of that is very similar, whether it's online or offline. Right. And if you know how to do delivery, and usually you can just get a delivery company, right, to be able to do that, then you really just have to be able to build the content and make sure. Now that's the very baseline way of doing it. And then there's many, 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 many things to go from there. But the truth is that there's a lot of companies like ours, you know, we have Dynamics now for e-commerce, and we have all of these different personalization modules and CRM modules that you can plug in to do that. But in terms of yourself and your upskilling, you know, you should probably find somebody who knows how to do that, and also realize that if you're a consumer, you know, it's not that much of a jump. I mean, I know that's maybe controversial what I'm saying, but there's not much of a jump between being an excellent retailer merchant offline and being an excellent retailer merchant online. I made that jump, you know, when I was older than him. So
yeah,
I think he can
but
do it.
I see your point, though. I want to emphasize the fact that, you know, tech talent, or let's say talent that has a tech appetite, it's finite people, right? It's not infinite.
But you don't need to be a tech person to get online.
I actually,
turnkey.
I think all the ones that I've seen that failed is the manager who wants to get their product successful online, give this responsibility to the IT department. And IT department doesn't help you get online. It's not technology.
Okay, that's very interesting. Yes.
You have to believe it, and you actually have to execute an overall strategy, because all of us actually said one thing very important is this is interlocking, right? You cannot just do the front end, have the best technology, and you just don't deliver, right? So you have to move everything at the same time. So if you want to be successful, it's not like, oh, I don't know how to do retail online. I think that's actually an understatement of yourself, because we all buy things online. So how if you know, if you actually is the customer,
you can experience.
So you know what is a good experience. So you just think the other way and think, hey, how I would do it so that I make myself happy. If you actually try it yourself and you're not happy with it, that means your customer is not happy.
And there's enough plug and play technology out there. You don't really need to be a tech person.
Yeah, that's very well put.
Yeah.
You can have no code app that you can develop now, right?
Apps, tons of stuff.
Exactly. In times of internet, I don't know is really a bad argument, right? So you should be able to find at least some ideas on a solution. There's definitely enough easy tech out there. And then it all ties back to, what do you actually want? What is your business plan? And that nobody in the internet can tell you, no consultant can tell you. That's what you need to know. And that's where you then tie towards your ideas, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really like this answer, because it's not magical recipes. It's just complementing and taking all of the best in each sector and making it fit to your business. In order to conclude this panel, can you maybe tell us what you believe will be the next connected retail experience? Can you describe it? I gave it a shot. Yeah, Simon? Yeah,
I want one. So I really enjoy to know more about my products. I'm one of the consumers that cares, but I'm also a prosumer. I do want to share back how I like that product or not. I very much love those QR codes on products, so you can scan, learn more about it, personalize that for me, and send me a video message maybe from whoever did it, like the bottle of wine, the farmer, if it's a special one, why not? All that is possible in today's world.
I think it's more about the customer. So the truth is that you've got these KOLs, these key opinion leaders, but people more and more realize they're being paid. You know, and so it's really about the honest customer, the KOC, the key opinion customer, and what are the real people like me who are going to use that product? What do they really think? And how do we find that unadulterated and unsponsored, I think, is the future.
To me, I think the most valuable connecting retail experience that I'm seeing is automation, automating the whole, like all of you mentioned here, customer experience, all the digital footprints and all the data collecting end to end. I would say automation is the future to get the information fast, timely, and accurate for you to analyze.
Simon?
So I'm doing this startup called table.co, right? So we believe this is how it is. It's actually a conversational e-commerce platform that allows you to have a single platform that comes from, when you're in Instagram, you're in Facebook, you are in your website, it always go back to the same conversation you continue for your whole product life experience, pre-sales, closing the sales, and post-sales. And that's what we think actually it's just one journey. It's no longer broken experiences that you need email, fax machine, brick and mortar store, phone number, and everything in order to complete something. That's not how it is supposed to
Yeah,
be.
thank you. I mean, we talked a lot about technology, but I'm very happy that we finished with authenticity at the end. Thank you very much.